So not only do you need to build your muscles in gaining strength, but you also have to improve your tendons and your nervous system. And so recovery is a big key for seniors. Recover as long as it takes. In fact, I recommend, between sets, if they're heavy, 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes if they're really heavy. I take 3 to 4 minutes if it's super heavy. So we want to rest between sets, but it's the rest between workouts. So I only recommend 3 workouts at most a week, 6 hours a week, and you can break it up 2 3 hours or 3 2 hours or however. But try to get as much recovery as you can. And so I found what's optimal for me is two days at 3 hours each. That enables me to work an entire all my chest bench exercises, everything associated with my bench. And then I can do on the other day deadlift and everything associated with the deadlift. And again, because I don't do squats, I work in my leg with that. So my deadlift day is a little longer. So that's the what I recommend for the recovery piece. Now, the building strength in your tendons, surprise, surprise, is it really is heavier weights with more limited movements. So let's say you're on your deadlift, where you pick it off all the floor. Well, that does certainly have an impact on tendons, but if you put that on a rack, so you're only lifting it maybe 1 foot up instead of from the ground, what they call a rack pull, and you put heavier weights on that than you can lift on the dead, that heavy weight and short movement will have a bigger impact on your tendons. So by doing these short movements, you can really strengthen your tendons. Now, you don't really hear much about that. You don't see you see what they call cheating, and actually the cheating, if it's done right, is the way to build tendons. If you can't get that weight up, I mean, clearly you've got to be careful in your form and all that. But the heavier weight will help to build the with the restricted movements will help build the tendons. And think about it, it's more like an isometric exercise. If I have a weight and I'm just moving it this much, it's really like an isometric exercise. And that really gets to the tendon much more than it does to the muscle. So you're focusing on your tendon rather than your muscle when you're doing these partials with heavier weights. So you need to stress your system, so you need heavier weights. And you can stress your system more because you don't need to lift so far. It's a minimal movement. So that's the way you sort of build tendons. And this idea of focusing is really important in weightlifting. The more you focus on a muscle, the more you can make that muscle grow. That's a bodybuilder tool. And strength, the more you focus on building your bench, the stronger your bench becomes. So you don't want to do these other things like put your feet in the air and do this or do that. You want proper form, and you want to practice the way the proper form is, though you can cheat to help build the tendons. And by the way, in building tendon strength, you get your nervous system accustomed to heavier weights. So by using heavier weights than you can normally do with a full movement, you actually get your nervous system used to the weight. So in the long run, you'll be able to do more weight. So I remember a lot of people say, "Oh, I was cheating, I was doing this and doing that," but the reality is, it really helped to build my foundation of strength. So, I've spent many years talking to people about it, and these partial movements really do build tendons, and the nervous system really does take a big impact. And lifting weights, heavier weights, is a way to improve your assimilation of your nervous system to that weight. So basically, the other rule is, again, we talked about recovery. You need more recovery when you get older. You need to build ancillary muscles, not in what we call power building. So you need to build other muscles just than the bench, the dead, and the squat. because those muscles are going to be important as you get older. And not only do you look better, but it will help with making sure you're less likely to get injured. So the other issue is cardio. Now, when you lift and build strength, your arteries get harder. I mean, I don't know how hard they get, but they get harder. And the more the stronger you get, the harder the arteries become. And so they've done studies on this. And one of the studies they did, they found that if you mix strength with cardio, you're actually the best of both worlds. So cardio tends to make the artery more flexible, and strength tends to make it more inflexible. So you use cardio to offset the strength, and in addition, the thing that I haven't talked about, which I think you should know being over 50, is by applying heavier weights and lifting heavier resistance, your arteries start developing pathways beyond the current pathways because your body needs to get more blood. So in doing so, it forces more arteries to be created, which means, though you can't affect your heart and your aorta, those things you're not going to affect in terms of heart problems. But if there's an issue with blockage down the road, you're going to be building ancillary pathways. And those ancillary pathways will help to ensure that you operate efficiently and you're not going to die from a stroke anyway, at least outside of the area of the heart and the aorta and the main system there. Now, I'm not sure what it does. I don't think any studies have been done on the brain, because the brain's a muscle. And so I have found by lifting more frequently, heavier, that not only do my muscles get bigger, and here's just a little look. Again, that's 63 years old. I'm in a bad light, but you could probably see it's probably about 18 and a half inches. I don't know. So I don't know if it actually does help improve the brain, but it seems like with me it did help. At least I still think I have the mental capacity that I did when I was 20. But I don't know, again, that's more subjective, whether in fact it builds the brain muscle in any way, shape, or form. But for me, it did seem like it helped. But, it's a muscle, and you build muscles, brain's a muscle. So it makes sense like it would help, but there really isn't much evidence to that effect because there hasn't been any real studies that I know of that talk to that, but it's just sort of more from my experience. Now, in terms of gaining strength, the reason why you focus on strength is because you've got to be careful with how much weight you put on. Now people don't talk about this a lot, but the heavier you are, really, the more stress it puts on the heart, whether it's from lean muscle or fat or water weight. It just puts more stress on the muscle, and you're gonna have more issues. You might have snoring or some sleep apnea, higher blood pressure. Most bodybuilders I know have high blood pressure. It's just the partly it's due to the blood, having to move through such a larger portion of your body, but partially it's due to the drugs they take. I will say that in my experience, when I stopped steroids, my blood pressure went significantly down, even though my body weight, which right now I'm 5'9", and I weigh about 208. I normally, if I compete again next year, it would be I'd compete in the 198 pound class. So that's what I'm gearing up my strength for, is that class. So heavier muscle mass is good to a point because it helps quality of life, helps with keeping everything internally together, helps with connection with your bones, and it takes the pains. Sometimes you get pains and aches, but when you lift heavy, you get pains from muscle growth, but you don't get those other pains, so you get good pains, not bad pains. So really, you feel healthier, you look healthier, you get stronger. But there's a point where you don't want to exceed. And just as a rule of thumb, I would not get into the higher in weight than your BMI suggests when it says you're obese. Now, for me, 5'9", obese, according to the BMI chart, would be about 210. So I definitely don't want to go over 210. I'm just now technically fat. So, but though it's pretty much all muscle. I believe I'm 12-13% body fat. And again, you can see my pictures on Instagram. Gericules 60 is my Instagram handle. And feel free to follow me there if you'd like. But when you turn 65, I think weight even becomes more of an issue. And even though I'm not 65, I have noticed every 10 years, like the 40th birthday, the 50th birthday, the 60th birthday, something goes on with my system that all of a sudden I know, you know what, something's different. It's sort of like, it's funny. It's like I'm fine, 58, I'm feeling great, and blah, blah, blah. And then 59, feeling great. And then 60, and all of a sudden your body takes a small turn. And then you start feeling the turn. So I do feel like at about 65, I'll probably feel another little turn. And I think the heavier weight's going to be, I probably have to lose a few more pounds. But I definitely, as you get older and older, over your mid-60s, you really got to try to stay in the mid, at most, mid, the BMI that says you're not obese, but, just fat and overweight, you want to stay in the middle range of that. And it could all be muscle, and that's fine. And if it's fat, then you want to get rid of that and be in the lower range. But you don't want to be, when you're older, you don't want to be too low, because then you're going to be weak, and you're just going to get weaker. There's going to be some point when you're weak, it just accelerates. So you want to lift before you get to that point, and you increase your strength to offset that. And again, I will talk later about all the supplements and all the drugs that you can take and what I recommend for seniors. If I'm a senior, because I got to be careful about advice, right? So it'd be what I'd recommend for me, and then you could change or do what you'd like. Again, everything I say, you need to see a doctor and get their approval before you execute. So I'll just sort of move on and talk about some basic guidelines. So I just want to review everything we've talked about. Powerlifting's the best way for strength. Make sure you have plenty of recovery time. That's a big issue, especially the older you get. You need recovery between sets. You need recovery between when you go to the gym. You need 2 days per. I would say, what I do is I do it Thursday and Friday. So it's like right together. It's close enough that it just feels like one big workout, and then I rest till Thursday again. So I get 5 days of rest: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I go to the gym on Thursday. So I get a good 5 days of rest. 4 to 5, we'll say 4 to 5 days of rest, and before I do it again, and it really does help me. Now, the other thing with recovery I will mention is massage. Now, a lot of people, I don't know what they think of massage. Some people think it's shady or whatever. I recommend not a chiropractic. I've gone to a chiropractic, and frankly, they didn't do much. They're good at very specific things, but when it comes to muscle, they're not really that good. So if you got aches in your muscles and you got pain, you got some muscle issue, it's tense, it's knots, it's hurting, you injured it, I'd get a Thai massage. Now, why a Thai massage? Because they really know how to stretch you. Every Thai massage I've had has been pretty good, and they stretch you very well, and they know how to work the muscles. So it really is a sort of a stretching massage type of thing, and they know, and those little girls, believe it or not, apply incredible amounts of weight. So they'll put their elbow into you, and you will feel it. A lot of times it's too much. So don't, small Thai girl, don't worry, no matter how big you are. Trust me, they've hurt me. And sometimes they hurt me too much. And I think they did that on purpose once.